How did the dark symbiote Eldritch God lose the first symbiote, the all-black Necrosword? And how did it fall into the hands of Gorr the God Butcher? The god-slaying weapon known as the Necrosword is one of Gorr's most powerful assets, as he has used this to murder droves of different gods and dozens of pantheons. Originally, however, the Necrosword was initially forged by Knull, the eldritch god of darkness who presided over the void before time. Before the seventh cosmos was forged, Knull used the Necrosword to expand his kingdom of darkness, but we know that at some point he lost this fabled weapon, and later it fell into the hands of the God Butcher. But how did Knull lose the blade in the first place? And what is the Necrosword? In today's video, we'll be breaking down the full comic story, but we'll also be diving into theory for the MCU, since the Necrosword has already appeared and since Knull is rumored to be the villain for Spider-Man 4. In the comics, All Black was formed from living darkness, and it is regarded as the first symbiote. One of its first deeds was Knull used it to decapitate one of the Celestials that threatened to encroach on all of his territory. As a result, he was able to temper the blade with the essence of the fallen Celestial, and what was once a prototype tool, a precursor to the symbiotes, had now become a god-killing weapon capable of slaying entire pantheons. What Knull did not know, however, was that the Celestial's essence had actually been trapped on a plane of existence known as the Realm Between, and the Necrosword had become a sort of afterlife for those that it had killed. Any souls claimed by Knull, who was now sporting the moniker of the Godslayer before Gorr would be forever tethered to the blade. During his conquest, once the seventh cosmos was well underway, Knull would come into contact with the Silver Surfer, who had been displaced throughout time, and the two would battle. For a time, Knull was able to infect the Surfer with the Living Abyss, a sentient darkness that corroded the Surfer, kind of like a cosmic symbiote. The Silver Surfer then became what is known as the Void Knight, and after he was freed, he used the power cosmic to conjure a star in the midst of his rematch with Knull. We know that Knull is an ancient god of eternal darkness, and his motives are usually fairly straightforward: to wage a war against all light and life in the universe until he can return the universe to a state of darkness. He wishes to preside over a kingdom of night, but not only because he simply doesn't like the light, but because it harms him. Knull refers to the light as a proper noun, as if it's an entity rather than simply a force of nature, and on multiple occasions in the comics, he's been incapacitated by immense amount of light, and having a star formed right next to him was a devastating blow by the Silver Surfer. Injured and weakened, Knull retreated, but the light had another plan. It empowered a legion of extraterrestrial gods, each clad in golden armor bestowed with the light itself, and these gods would stop at nothing to end Knull. When Knull faced off against the entire battalion of new gods, he fought as a demon, and with the All Black at his side, he butchered all but one. When he tracked down the final survivor, they had both been put through the ringer, and neither of them were fit to continue the fight, but they elected to do so regardless. The final survivor managed to deliver a gruesome blow to Knull, hitting him in the head, just as Knull delivered his final strike of his own, and the two effectively executed one another. Instead of dying, however, the two crash-landed on the planet with no name, and this is where the story gets very interesting. In the MCU, we actually get to see the planet with no name, and we know this because the planet is the home of Gorr the God Butcher, the one that we see in the opening minutes of Love and Thunder. Gorr lived in perpetual starvation for his entire life, and when he finally does find salvation by meeting his gods, he finds that they care little for his situation. The god that he confronts, however, is Rapu, who is dressed very similarly to the final survivor that Knull had battled, and he's gloating that he just defeated the wielder of the Necrosword. When Gorr arrives, he comes across the corpse of an unknown figure who is wielding the All Black, and Rapu goes so far as to say that he wiped out his entire empire with the blade. If this tracks to the comic lore, then this seems to be the play-by-play of what happened with Knull in this universe. As of yet, an unnamed wielder of the Necrosword butchered an empire of gods clad in golden armor, leaving only a single survivor. In the MCU, this survivor very well could have been Rapu, but it leaves us to wonder if he was the one that slew the MCU's version of Knull. If this is the case, then this would mean that the variant of Knull from Earth 616 was outright killed, and that there is no longer a variant in this universe. And this could explain why currently on 616, there are no symbiotes on Earth. It would directly disprove a previous idea that we suggested though, which claims that Knull may not have multiversal variants. If you're interested in that, be sure to check out some of the other Knull content we've posted. But until we get some sort of confirmation, or at least some evidence one way or the other, we still have to treat each of these possibilities as equally likely. This would also mean that the version of Knull teased in Venom 3 will be the primary variant that the heroes will face. Given the rumors of Knull's inclusion in Spider-Man 4, it's likely that Knull will have a larger presence in the MCU, and in the Sony universe moving forward as well. Not only is he going to be the main villain for Venom 3, but rumors from My Time to Shine Hello and a few other sources claim to indicate that he will survive the destruction of the multiverse. This would place Knull on Battleworld after the multiverse itself dies, and if he survives this, then Knull would carve out a place for himself in the new cosmos made by presumably Doctor Doom. In this case, the slate would be cleared for one dominant version to wreak absolute havoc for the foreseeable future. But if Knull is still alive on Earth 616, then it would mean that this was an intermediary. Based on the body, it's hard to tell whether or not this could have been Knull, but if the body was not Knull in the MCU, it means someone had the Necro Sword after him, and unfortunately, the god Rapu does not name the individual. In the comics, however, Knull didn't just lose the All Black, but it actively chose to abandon him. He was critically injured, and he was at his lowest point. The All Black understood that his master was in a state of particular weakness. The All Black, however, will only seek out worthy users, but rather than judging worthiness by the content of someone's heart or character, it determines who can wield it based on their power and their might. It seeks strong warriors, but does not care about their motivations or intention with the blade. The All Black only wishes to be in the hands of a proper warrior, and this goes directly back to its status as the first symbiote. As the symbiotes evolved, they were exposed to other individuals across other worlds, so they got to see different values that Knull did not teach them. This allowed the symbiotes to learn things like honor, trust, and honesty, which they began to explore as they made their way across the cosmos. Some of the symbiotes angered Knull by learning too much and taking on these attributes as their own. But the All Black came about this because of a common practice. Since this was Knull's first living weapon, it only had the most rudimentary form of sentience, which was imbued only with Knull's own value, which are to say, basically no values whatsoever. Knull wants to spread darkness through conquest, and this is reflected in the All Black. As symbiotes evolved, they got smarter and became more individualistic, forming their own identities and personalities separate from Knull, separate from what he had programmed within them. Because of this, it abandoned him and sought out a new master, wanting to continue its mission to spread darkness. This would lead it into the hands of a starving native of an unknown world, a man named Gore, who would become known as the God Butcher. Even though Knull survived, he didn't bother to track down the All Black or its wielder, because by this point, he had made more progress in the realm of creating living weapons. His symbiotes were coming together nicely, and All Black had become outdated compared to what Knull could now do. But Knull also knew that the All Black was able to choose its wielder, and that it had made the very conscious choice to go find someone new. A twisted sort of breakup. In the MCU, the Necro Sword chose Gore, so we know that it behaves very similarly to its comic book counterpart. And because we know this, we can conclude that if this is the intermediary, that the All Black still chose this person. And for some reason or another, the All Black abandoned Knull. If this isn't Knull, it's still someone capable of challenging gods, someone that the Necro Sword chose because of his might in combat and his prowess when it came to conquest. But anyway, friends, what do you think of the connection between Knull and Gore the God Butcher, as well as the All Black, the first symbiote? Was Knull killed by Rapu before the beginning of Thor Love and Thunder in the MCU and on Earth 616? Or was this another person who used the sword in between the two of them? Does Knull have multiversal variants, or does he originate from somewhere outside of the cosmos and the multiverse? Please let us know your thoughts on all of these theories in our explanation down below. Smash the subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and have a great day.